I don't even know if I'm going to post this video because some things are best left in the past. Did I even say hello? Hey guys, in today's video I want to talk about how the worst working holiday experience of my life helped me to get a sketchbook that really helped me tap into my creativity for the first time. I would say with this sketchbook, at this point I was quite comfortable with doing digital art. But for this, I wanted to start getting good at sketchbooking. So I think this was like my proper sketchbook where I was being creative, maybe. I think so. So I feel like this was the start. For example, like the hell that I went through in New Zealand. And then after that, just being in Bali, which was so lovely. And then it carried on when I came back to England. So I wanted to talk about the New Zealand working holiday. I wanted to be honest about what happened. I won't go into too much detail, but I want to talk a little bit about it. I'll do timestamps and then I will talk about how my sketchbook was being formed and how I kept staying motivated even though the country was trying to take me out, basically. So if you follow me on TikTok, then you would know, especially in real time, that I was documenting the events that were happening when I was in New Zealand. I lived in Auckland in particular because that's where the jobs were. Ideally, I would have loved to live in Wellington, but there were no jobs. So yeah, not that that was any better anyway, because I have friends that were also going through it who are the same skin complexion as me. Also, on my Instagram, I did mention New Zealand as well rather recently because I was looking through my camera roll and then I randomly saw this video of when I was in New Zealand, and this is how I had to dress when I was walking down the street because I didn't want the islanders to shout at me anymore or be quite aggressive with the hatred. So yeah, I literally had to cover myself because for me with my hair, oh my gosh, I would never have my hair out like this in New Zealand because I probably wouldn't be here today, let me be honest. But yeah, normally the hairstyles that I have, a predominantly black hairstyle is what I would be having, right? So I was like, okay, I'm going to cover this. Then I'm going to cover my face as much as I can. Also put gloves on so they can't see my skin tone. And then I would also carry an umbrella even when it wasn't raining because I was like, okay, now they're not going to be able to see me. And when I dress like that, honestly, oh, the walk from home to work and then back was just glorious. Yeah, that's how I had to dress. And I was just thinking, oh my God, I really want to talk about it and yeah, just bring light to that because I love to inform people in general and especially people that look like me about countries that are safe for you to travel to and countries that you're going to be fighting for your life in because it's just nice to know. Okay, unfortunately, the reality is when you're not white, you Google and you see if a country is safe for you, basically. I want people to make informed decisions if they decide to go to New Zealand. Because oh my God, if I had seen people documenting their experience, I would not have gone there. I would have gone somewhere else. And I think that's a big problem is that because nobody talks about what goes on in New Zealand, every country has racism, but if there's a certain country where nobody is talking about what's happening in the country, you don't know the severity of the situation. That makes you think, oh, okay, so because I don't talk about racism, that means it doesn't exist and it's actually okay. So I thought, oh, okay, it's going to be okay. And then if I do deal with anything, it's just going to be the same as what I deal with in England sometimes, which is microaggressions, which are obviously not good. But for me, and now with what I've experienced, I would much rather prefer a microaggression to a macroaggression because I can't fight yet. Also for me, getting comments shouted at me quite aggressively from people that were far away or quite close to me. It was all different kinds of people. I know that you'd be watching this and you'd think, oh, it was the homeless people. No, it wasn't the homeless people. And this is what made me even more comfortable because it was very hard to distinguish who was going to say something to me in the street because it was people it was kids, teens and adults that were on their commute, whether they were going to work, to school, wherever it is that they were going, but I would get just anything from anyone. And that's why I was like, oh, this isn't great. And then, but it was from a particular demographic, which did shock me quite a lot. Why did I decide to do the working holiday? I love nature. New Zealand is obviously known for nature. Being born and raised in England, I feel like I don't really or I guess I didn't used to like go to a lot of places. There are a lot of working holiday opportunities. Thought I might as well use this, and this is a great opportunity. The main reason as to why I wanted to leave and do the working holiday. I had the 1-year working holiday, and then if I liked New Zealand enough, I was going to extend it for the 3 years. The reality of the experience, oh my god, the reality. Okay. I wouldn't feel safe from people shouting things at me on the street. Stereotypical things that people would think, right? So negative stereotypes that are attached to your group of people would say to me, and I just, completely unprovoked as well. Like, I wouldn't do anything. I'm just trying to live my best life and be in a country that has really nice nature. Like, and in my personal experience, most of my aggressive racist encounters were from islanders. I did find out like a little bit more about this. One of my co-workers was an islander who, ironically, in my second week of working there, he showed me a slave joke video, and then he said that everyone at the company would have laughed at that video if he showed it to them, because that's just the nature of New Zealand. And that's when it really solidified for me that this country doesn't take anything seriously. And one of the reasons I wanted to go to New Zealand was because it was known to be a very chilled out country, and I didn't know how far that chillness went. And after that, I obviously felt very conflicted about him, because I was like, oh, you're one of the like non-lazy people at this job, but now you are like this. But I used this opportunity to get as much information out of him as I possibly could. Like, I needed to know just for my own like peace of mind, because I was going to ask it on TikTok. But I also couldn't be bothered because I was still in the country, and New Zealand is very small. So I was like, I don't want to ask this question whilst I'm still in the country, because oh my gosh. But anyway, I was asking him a bunch of questions, and he was telling me that there is a lot of rivalry between the islanders that are actually in New Zealand. He also mentioned that there is a lot of self-hatred and there is a lot of whitewashing that is there. And these are very like serious and very sad topics, but I don't believe that they take the time to talk about these hurtful things. Nobody likes to talk about them, and you don't have to talk about them all the time, but it's so important to talk about the history of your people and the hurt, but people just don't do that. And I don't think they really process things. And I think their first reaction to anything that might be hurtful is to laugh. I think also because they are so far away from the rest of the world, they don't think that a lot of things are their problem. I'm trying to approach this being very, there are some things that I want to say, but I don't want to roast the whole country, because not everyone there is horrible. Not everyone there is evil. It's just unfortunately, majority of the people I was meeting, and it's not even funny. What was that situation? And I wish I was recording half of the interactions I had, because I could literally reach out to Netflix and be like, let's make a show. I could be famous and rich off of everything that I went through there. I should write a book, actually. I just don't take things very seriously there, especially racism. I don't think they're used to having to fight for like good causes and things like that. And I think if you need a city that is like that, I think Wellington is the more progressive city, and it is the capital city, and it is more artsy and like hipster. So I think if you are wanting to try and survive, then Wellington might be the best place to be. But also, I'm not going to promote the working holiday to anyone that looks like me, because unless we're enemies, I would not recommend you to go to New Zealand, because I wouldn't wish that for you. There are so many other countries that have beautiful nature that you can thrive in, and you're not going to be fighting for your life. But I'm hoping that as a collective, this is making a lot of sense as to why I left the country. The good thing that came out of this was the friendships that I made, the friends that I made along the way, and also my sketchbook. I look back at it now and I'm so proud that I kept going. I don't know what was going through my mind, but I think I used my sketchbook as a way to escape from everything that was going on when I was out there. So going into the sketchbook and the art side of this working holiday experience. Prior to this working holiday, I had been documenting my art experience, and I had been taking courses and also doing a lot of independent studies, and I had been setting my own goals for myself. Because of this, I wasn't going into the experience completely new. I was locked in. I've been locked in, but there was something that changed in me. But at that time, every time I stepped out of England, I just felt like a new lease of life. And I just felt very motivated to do stuff with my art. Like, I felt very motivated to actually be living and not just working. One of the main things that kept me going, that I can think kept me going on this working holiday, is that I had goals. So even if this experience was going to be the best thing in my life or the worst, I still was going to make time for my art, because as well with starting, like, tapping into my art journey a lot later in life and relearning these skills, I am a lot stricter with myself, or I was, especially back then, because I just thought to myself that I don't really have time to waste and I need to hurry up and get on with it, basically. So I think I just kept that mindset where I was like, okay, New Zealand is awful. However, at least you're outside of England, and also you don't have time to then be sad. Like, these months are going to go by anyway, so why have these months go by and you not do anything that's creative? Whether or not I was learning something or not, I decided to be very present in what I was creating. Like, for example, like, I would just be so in the moment of drawing something and working on these pages. And for me, especially at that time, it was a very big thing for me to do a whole page dedicated to an illustration of something rather than doing studies. I think a lot of my books beforehand had been like a lot of studies of stuff, which is completely fine, but I hadn't really been tapping into my more creative side. And yeah, I was using a lot of colored pencils and making the pages all colorful, and it just felt like the opposite of what was going on in my life, I guess. And it was something that I could control, which was how I decided to work in my sketchbook. So I do believe that art became a coping mechanism for everything that was going on. And it's very surprising because I didn't think that I would be someone that lives and breathes art. I have been to a few art networking events, and a lot of the people that I would meet there, they, like, especially when you follow them on Instagram, they just seem like they're so hungry for progression or to be in the industry and so motivated to keep going. And I had just never been like that for art. I believe art has been something that I've always been good at, and I've always gravitated more towards when I've been in school, but it was never something that I just couldn't stop thinking about. Now, I wouldn't say I was constantly obsessed and grabbing for my sketchbook, but I always had it with me. I was always taking pictures of things that were beautiful, because even though New Zealand was a horrible experience for me, it is a very beautiful country, and there was always something that was very pretty to take a picture of or to sketch. So yeah, I felt this different sort of motivation, I think, naturally. There is this piece that I worked on that I'm very happy with. This was when I went to Wellington. I posted the videos saying that, you know, I'm in Auckland right now and this is the situation. People were like, just go to Wellington, like, you're going to be so much better, it's going to be great. I have a friend who's living here. I saw her videos on TikTok and she was talking about how racist and how awful New Zealand is, and I was like, girl, yeah, it is. And I reached out to her and I was like, we should meet up. And then we did. Well, that was when she came to Auckland, and then she left and went back to Wellington. And then I was like, I might as well go. I mean, I'll go and see, you know, make a friend. And then also I will check out this workshop, because the thing is, New Zealand was awful for me, but I was like, I'm not leaving here, the country, until I saw something to do with Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. Like,
I'm leaving here with something. You know what I mean? I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
I didn't travel that far just to, like, not see anything to do with any of that. So I said, okay, I'm gonna go to this workshop and I'm gonna be in my Lord of the Rings. It's gonna be great. Next page is something that I drew when I had met up with a friend that I'm telling him about, like, how awful the experience was in New Zealand. So this was almost at the point of where I was gonna leave, because I was so, at this point, I was really struggling. And then he was the one that mentioned to me to, you know, go to Bali because it's a nice place, like, you're gonna be fine. I don't want to say everything happens for a reason, because I truly don't believe that with most situations, but the trajectory of everything that happened in, like, with New Zealand, and then the people that I met along the way, I am upset that I didn't have a lot of time with the friends that I made, just because I've never had that much of a community around me and like that many friends that actually care about me and I care about them. I've never really had that before. So I was upset that it didn't last like very long. But I am very happy that I got to experience that, and all of the people that I was able to meet when I was either in New Zealand or Indonesia. I was getting very motivated to do a lot of things to do with art. And I don't even know how to. Yeah, so I was very proud of myself for locking in. It was when I went to the Hobbiton. I remember being so scared on this tour because I was trying to lock in and remember why I came here. And, you know, I was like, I'm a big fan of The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, but I just couldn't. I was there physically, but I wasn't there. I wasn't there. So I feel like visiting this place, when I'm looking at this page in my sketchbook, I'm like, I feel like I can't even remember it, to be honest, because I was blocking out most things that were happening to me there. I believe that these like little studies were from me doing the art WOD course. And then I went to Indonesia and it was lovely. Yeah, those were some of my pages in my sketchbook and some of the things that I was going through as I was sketching those. And I absolutely have no idea how I kept going. And I think it's just because I had a goal in mind and I wasn't going to let this country take that away from me. That is pretty much it. I really don't know what this video actually was, but I just wanted to talk about the New Zealand working holiday and also how much it did mess me up, but I also had so many great experiences and I met so many amazing people who really, if it wasn't for meeting these people, I don't know how long I would have survived on the New Zealand working holiday. Dealing with aggressive racist encounters for 5 months and then throw in some microaggressions in there as well when you're at work. It does really do a lot to someone, and especially when you're not in your home country. Yeah, to anyone that is going through it, I don't know, you could even be on the working holiday right now and you're absolutely going through it and you're just trying to look for some sort of content. If you are, I'm really, really sorry. And yeah, I will not ever promote that country and tell people to go there. I know that people always say, oh, I would never wish this on my worst enemy. For me, I would. If I like you, I would not tell you to go to New Zealand. And my experience happened in 2024, and that is as recent as we're going to get with people documenting their experiences in that country, because I hadn't seen anyone talking about it. But yeah, I had gone through stuff. And this is like, I feel like people's experiences are definitely different. And for me, this is my experience being a Black British woman that has gone out to New Zealand. I know that a lot of people have to make New Zealand work because, you know, maybe they've come from certain countries and it's sort of like, they just have to make it work. And my heart goes out to them as well, because I am very, very lucky that I had the option to be able to come back to England. It wasn't very easy for me to come back to England, but at least I knew I had that option. And yeah, this is not the worst country in the world. It's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst one. So, you know, at least I can move freely here. You know, I could go out on the street and wear my hair in an afro, and the chance of me being hate crimed are going to be a lot lower than if I was in New Zealand. So yeah, I hope that this video was informative for people that are considering the working holiday, and I also hope that it was informative for people that might be in a very rough spot and they're finding it very hard to lock in with their art. But if you're fighting for your life, maybe just turn to your sketchbook and just draw any and everything that makes you happy. Thank you for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!